Now I need to go ahead and configure the other interface. So I'm gonna click on this router, this PC, gonna access the router using the hyper terminal, the same settings. I'll not use the dialog box. Okay, the configuration, enable conf ter, okay, int s serial 010, okay, IP address 192.168, as we said earlier, should be from the same subnet mask .1.2, okay, and the prefix links or the subnet mask would be 255.255.255 .255.252, because the prefix links is 30. Okay, that's mean in my subnet I'm going to have only 2 usable IP addresses to be used with 4 IP addresses. Okay, and I have to issue the no shutdown, and since this interface is a DTE, I changed nothing. Okay, now the interface has changed the state into up, since we have a connection with the other router. And do you see it turned these blinking dots, they turned from red color into green color, indicating that they are operational and they are running. Let's go back to our original router and see how did this affect, how these changes they were reflected on the configuration of this router. Again, I click on this PC and I access the hyper terminal. Okay, so I'm gonna exit. Okay, show int serial 000. Okay, what do you see over here? Is up, and line protocol is up. Fine. And if we issue the same command on the other router, we find them up. This is the ideal case where both of them are up and both of them are operational, and they are sending and receiving information. Do you have any questions so far? Thank you, Osman. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what other comments we can use from over here. Okay, now some of the other interfaces, just like the console interface. Console interface, we all know it. It's the interface that we connect through to configure our router. Why do we need to configure that interface if by default we can connect to that interface? For a simple reason, for setting a password on that interface. So what do? We can access that mode, and we can access something called the VTY mode, the VTY interface. VTY interface is used for Ethernet sessions. Now we will see how to access those interfaces later on, after a while. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's go ahead. Okay, and don't worry, I chose a packet tracer activity that has all the skills, combines all the skill. Okay, we will have access to see all the skills and demonstrate all the skills together. Now, if you remember yesterday, we tried to configure a host name, or we tried to configure a name for the router. Why do we need a name for the router? It's important to name your routers, although this most probably is not gonna be involved in sending and receiving information, but it's good to have a name for your router, okay, where you can distinguish your routers. Later on in the future, using the names will help you in developing an access list. Access list, it's a way of making your router as a firewall. It's advanced level of security where your router protects protects your network based on your configuration. The name over here is very important. Now, even for the telnet session, in order to know to where you're connected, you need the name. So name is very handy, very helpful. Now, using packet tracer, if we want to change the name, it's very easy. Simply you double click on over here on the icon and you write R1, okay, and R2. But doing it on the router itself, again, it's easy. Okay, we move to the global configuration mode. Okay, let me just check whether it was but before going and configuring the name, you have to make sure that the name, okay, starts with the letter. It doesn't contain any spaces. It should be less than 63 characters. Okay, fine. Okay, so we configure the name from the global configuration mode. I'll go back. And by the way, during the assessment, the online assessment, they will ask you, yes, we've done this in the lab, okay? Yeah, okay, just let me repeat it just to follow the sequence, okay? Okay, so conf ter, okay, host name, okay, let's say R1, okay, and here you go, here is the R1. See, it's very simple, very straightforward. Okay, that was about the name, and we changed the name for the switch in the same manner. Okay, now over here we need to access the console port and we need to set a password on the console. Okay, now how many console ports did we see on the router last time? One, exactly. And that one, always we start numbering from 0, so that one is numbered 0. Now I have to exit my interface configuration mode by using the exit command, but I have to stay in the global configuration mode and issue the line console command. And over here, by using the question marks, it tells me that you have only one console port, and that console port number is 0. Okay, so I enter 0. Now what's the next step? I need to protect my console connection with a password. Let's see what other options do I have. Okay, the access list will be discussed later. So what do I do over here? I use the password command, okay, and I choose a password over here. Working with Cisco devices, for the time being, since you are learning, always use Cisco or class as a password. Okay, in case if you forget it, we know the default and we can use them, but later on, once you go and configure a commercial router, don't use them, avoid them. So I'm gonna use the Cisco password. Okay, and the next step is going to be login. That's mean it's you haven't enabled the password yet. You set the password. In order to enable the password, for each time you issue that session, you use the following command, which is the login. Okay, and here we go. This is we have now, right now, we have a protection on the console port. If I close my hypertext, enable, okay, end or exit,